Hello, everybody. It is Monday, January 6th, 2025. Welcome to episode 104 of the Old Mage MTG podcast with your hosts, Old Mage Steve and Old Mage Alex. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to be back with you on YouTube or Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you listen to the show. If you're excited to have us back and you would like to show us some support, you can do so while building your Magic collection at the same damn time. We have a TCG Player affiliate link, so next time you make a TCG Player purchase, just click our affiliate link. You'll find it in the description down below. Now it's time to talk some Magic. It's been a while, Alex. What's been happening in your MTG life since last episode?
Not too much. I've been working on a few decks, paper and digital, working on a few bird decks, picking up
Bird.
some pain lands, and I need some Mothers of Runes actually. So I'm shopping for those Rebecca Guai art Mother of Runes. I think I'm gonna get them.
I don't know that one. I'm gonna have to look it up. I never see anybody. I know it exists, but I never see anybody playing them. Everybody just usually plays this classic Urza's Legacy art.
hmm And that
She,
art's on a bunch of them, so I kind of wanted something a little different,
yeah.
especially because none of them are cheap. There's not like a nice,
Are
super
these
cheap one.
are these both her?
And that one's pretty cool. No, I
No,
think
that's
just
not
one.
Rebecca Guay. Just this one. Rebecca Guay did a secret layer, or at least she was in a secret layer. Mother of Runes. It's the art is never great on the resolution is never great on MTG stocks. But it's always
As
way
we have
better
learned in the
on
past.
Scryfall. This is the Rebecca Guay Mother of Runes.
Yeah, I think I like that one. Some of the other Secret Lair ones are pretty good too. But I figure I'd go with something other than just the basic one.
Who did this one? Elliot Mitchell. Rebecca Guay one is about $10 right now.
Yeah,
What's the classic or the original? Probably about the same.
a little bit less. $8 or something, I think.
$5.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Current market price, $4.69. Getting your pain lands. Important. You need your pre-modern mana base. Picking up your
Yes.
Mother of Runes, a classic pre-modern staple.
Yeah.
Well, since we last spoke, Alex, I attended the third monthly Columbus pre-modern meetup.
Ah, nice. How was it?
It was good. It was smaller. It was a little bit smaller because it was a little bit before Christmas. So like some people were out of town or some people were just busy with stuff. I brought a few different decks. I brought a Stompy deck, just a green Stompy. I fiddled with it right before I ran out the door and I screwed up my mana curve. So I just kept getting mana screwed the whole time and when I played that deck. So that didn't work out very well.
Stompy Fiddler sounds like a good deck.
What would it be?
I don't know, some kind of fiddling creatures.
Is there anybody that fiddles or plays a violin or
I don't know. I'm
anything
trying to
in
think of
Magic?
it.
I don't know.
Maybe there's some goblins that have like a fiddle.
There's
Some
Elvish
demons would go well on
Pipers.
the deck.
There's Elvish Pipers. There's goblins who play war drums, but I don't know of a fiddler.
Yeah.
Does Rofalos pay the pan flute, or am I just inserting a pan flute and
That
play that art
sounds
in my
right to me.
mind?
You know?
Okay. I played Red Green War Riders, which is a deck that I played before. I faced some heavy discard against with that deck for the first time, and it did not go well.
Yeah.
I tell you what, my War Riders deck, which depends on me playing War Riders and then enchanting it with a Tempting Licid to sop up all their survivor tokens, or play some Moon to kill all the survivor tokens when I have my Dingus staff out. Like it's all the cards. They're rather weak on their own, so I really need to get like two, three things out on the board to have it really do anything. No good when you're playing against four duress and four Gapal therapies. It ruins everything. I actually faced a bottomless pit for
Oh,
the
okay.
first time. It was a black green bottomless pit deck, and it was quite nice actually. And then I also bought Imperial Armor. Imperial Armor White Weenie. Uh, Classic deck we started talking about, I think last episode. I'm trying to convert it to pre-modern. Not that different from the original, but taking the classic Imperial Armor White Weenie Shadow decks from I think like 1996, played by Matt Lindy. There was another person who played one. There was, if not the same exact deck, it was very similar around that time. To kind of see if I can upgrade it at all for pre-modern. And the version I brought to the meetup was less than ideal because I didn't have all the shadow creatures I wanted. I placed a shadow creature order. They didn't come in the mail. So I was running very few shadow creatures in my shadow deck. So it wasn't really what I wanted it to be. But the shadow creatures have since arrived. I have a new version. I changed the
Ah,
deck up a little bit. There's some thoughts after playing the deck last month that I recorded. One, wonder and protection from red creatures is great against burn, and I'm seeing a lot of burn, and it's good enough, and burn is common enough that maybe I should just main deck it. So I have 23 creatures. Uh, Four of them are Mother of Runes, which I can tap to give protection from a color to itself or to anything else I have in the deck. I'm running two Silver Knights, which are pro red. Running four Soltari Monks, which are pro black. I don't face as much black, but that could come in handy sometimes. Have a pro black creature and wonder. And then full Soltari Priest, which is a classic creature to run in a white weenie shadow deck. It's 2 white, 2/1, pro red shadow. So basically, I have six creatures that have pro red main deck, and then the Mother of Runes. I've decided to put one wonder main board because I mean, if I can get wonder out with pro red creatures, burn is in trouble. I don't have to worry about. It's practically a lock. I don't have to worry about outrunning all their heat. I can just ping away with the pro red shadow creature. I keep saying wonder. Son of
yeah.
a bitch.
Worship.
It's
Okay.
worship. I
I was
do this
trying to figure
every
out.
time. I've been doing this for a year on the podcast, I think. Every time I want to say worship, I say wonder. Worship. It's an enchantment from Urza Saga. Damage that will reduce your life total to less than one, instead reduces it to one if you can control a creature.
Ah,
So the combo is good enough, and I face enough burn that I think I'm just going to start mainboarding at least one copy of Wonder. Second take home, I need more blockers, Alex. Shadow creatures can't block. I was like 2 hours into playing, and I actually tried to block somebody's creatures with one of my shadow creatures because sometimes I just forget after I play for a while. It was a long day. I have to go to work. They always want to do it on the weekdays, so I go to work in the
yep.
morning. I work a full day, many times an hour or two of overtime. Then I have to drive like 45 minutes or an hour to get to the place where they want to meet up because I'm southeast of Columbus and they all want to meet north of Columbus, so it's a bit of a drive. Sit in there, play, have a drink. I get tired. I forget the rules. I forget what my cards do. So I don't have a lot of blockers. I'm running 23 creatures in the deck currently, but 1, 2 plus 4 equals 6, plus 4 equals 10, plus 4 equals 14, plus 1 equals 15. 15 of those 23 creatures have shadow, so they're not blockers. So if I'm facing another like creature heavy deck and they get out creatures that are, higher power than these shadow creatures, and a lot of shadow creatures are just one or two power, I could actually get outrun by other creature horde decks and I don't even have chump blockers. So I was like, I feel like I need some chump blockers. I originally was going to play mobilization, which I don't have that in here right now.
Oh, that generates tokens
It does. It generates tokens.
for three
Because I was in
mana.
some fairly long games the other day, and I was like, if I had a mobilization, just a way, yeah, just a way to generate some chump blockers, I could have bought myself some time. I could have chump blocked their shit and then got through and killed them with my shadow creatures. Mobilization is 2 colorless, 1 white enchantment. Attacking doesn't cause soldiers to tap, which doesn't do much for my deck currently, although it does mean that my whip quarters won't
Oh,
tap when they attack,
cool.
which is actually not quite nice uh, because I could attack with them and then I could tap them for their special ability, which is to tap a target creature. But that's the only soldier. No, that's not true. No, it is true. That's the only soldier in the deck. Knights are not considered soldiers, correct? Oh, sorry. Soltari Champion's a soldier. Sorry. A bunch of these are soldiers, but it doesn't matter that they can't tap because I can't block with them anyways. Soltari Champion is a
Fair enough.
soldier. Soltari Foot Soldier is a soldier. That's it.
And then the tokens themselves are soldiers, so
The
they pretty
tokens
much
themselves will be
always have
soldiers.
vigilance. Yeah.
But in addition to, giving soldiers vigilance, I can pay 2 colors, 1 white, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token into play. So I was really just thinking, what can I put in to generate chump blockers? Now, I was playing Ryan and Kyle from Ohio yesterday with this deck, and we were playing over webcam with paper. I didn't have a mobilization. I thought I had a mobilization already. I was digging through my box before I went to play, and I was like, fuck, I forgot to buy the mobilization. So I just threw a Spirit Link in here.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't even know if I will go with the mobilization. Maybe I just go with the Spirit Link because mobilization is still kind of slow. I need to, I get it out turn 3 max. Then I need to pay 3. I need to sink 3 mana into it to generate 1/1 creatures. Turns 3 and 4, like I don't want to be generating 1/1 creatures anyways. I want to be putting out more shadow creatures. I'm not really going to be using it to generate chump blockers probably comfortably until like turn 6 and 7. I might already be outrun by that point. Uh, but if
Yeah.
I can just Spirit Link a shadow creature with two power or 3 power if I attack with the Solitary Champion at the same time, I give him +1/+1, or Imperial Armor it up to like 5 or 6 power, do 5 or 6 damage, gain 5 or 6 life. That'll help me outrun him. Spirit Link is
True.
only 1 mana. So I
True.
might just go
Plus, you
with the
can use,
Spirit
if you
Link.
have to, you can use the Spirit Link on if they have like a high
Exactly.
power flyer or something. You could use it on that.
Exactly, Alex. Exactly. So I thought about that too. Might go with the Spirit Link. Now, the only downside I'm thinking about there is now I'm going to be in a situation where I'm running 4 Imperial Armors. That's 4 enchant creatures. I put 1 or 2 Spirit Links in there, then I have 5 or 6 enchant creatures. There's only so many 2-for-1s you can survive. People start swords in my creatures, my shadow creatures with enchantments on them. So I don't know. I'm not sure how many creature enchantments I want to run in this deck, but I'm thinking maybe I'm going to drop the mobilization plan and just go with Spirit Link.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I got to worry about 2-for-1s, but then, like you said, I like using Spirit Link on my opponent's creatures too, just to neuter them.
Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about that because they're not going to destroy their own creature probably.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've been doing that a little more in my decks I'm building online, is throwing in a Spirit Link as a pseudo, you know, creature removal, but I can also use it on my own creatures. And I got that from you pretty much. Like you talk about doing that. So I was like,
I'm
yeah,
probably
Steve's right.
I am right.
Um,
Unless somebody listens and tells me I'm wrong, then
Another
I'm
option
wrong.
is pacifism too in white.
Pacifism is also good, but I don't know. Like, why would I run that instead of Spirit Link? 'Cause Spirit Link, I can gain life and like outrun burn.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like pacifism, I don't know. If they have smaller creatures, if you're playing against a horde type deck, you don't want to be wasting like 2 mana and an enchantment on like one little creature just to stop it from attacking. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather have the Spirit Link then, probably.
Also, Spirit Link, that means I get to play a card from Legends, which is my
Yeah.
favorite set of all time, and I get to play some Kaya Foglio art, one of
I
my
don't
favorite
have a
artists of all
Legend
time.
Spirit Link yet. I still need to get one
They're lovely.
or
Sometimes I
more.
just open my box and I just go through my Legends cards. Other take-home message, Cataclysm. Why did I start building this deck? Just because I wanted to play Imperial Armor on a shadow creature and then cast Cataclysm. Now, the first few times I was running this deck, every single time I resolved Cataclysm, I lost the damn game anyways. So I was thinking, what the hell? I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I'm still losing the game. Maybe Cataclysm just isn't that great. Another reason I wanted to play this deck, to find out if Cataclysm was actually worth playing. It's not doing work for me, Alex. There's a very real possibility that I'm just not playing it at the right times. Cataclysm is 2 colorless, 2 white sorcery. Each player chooses from the permanents he or she controls an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a land and sacrifices the rest. So the idea is in this deck, you get out a low casting cost shadow creature. Turn 3, you equip it with Imperial Armor. Still got a lot of cards in your hand, so it's probably getting +3, +3, +4, +4. Then you cast a Cataclysm. You keep 1 land, you keep your shadow creature, you keep your Imperial Armor. Should be good to go. Should end the game in 2 turns after that. Often finding myself in situations where the one creature they're keeping is like even bigger than my Imperial Armored Shadow creature, though, and then I'm in trouble.
Uh-huh.
Also, I've found myself not being able to build, like not being able to kill them right away, and them building their board state back faster than I was able to build my board state back. So I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I was still losing. I ran into that situation with you. I ran into that situation at the Columbus Premodern Meetup.
Do you think you need to wait longer to use the Cataclysm, or is it just like,
I
is
don't think
that
I
not
can
the issue?
afford to wait longer with
Yeah.
this deck though, because I have a bunch of shadow creatures that can't block.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I'm just going to put it in the sideboard. Why put it in the sideboard instead of getting rid of it? Because I found out that it's actually quite wonderful against Enchantress. I played against an Enchantress deck,
Oh, okay.
and Enchantress decks sometimes they'll have their Sterling Groves out. You can't target their enchantments, but you Cataclysm. It's not targeted. And also Enchantress decks, they'll have a bunch of enchantments laid out. Can't get rid of all of them with targeted disenchants and stuff like that. Just don't have
Yeah.
enough spells to combat it, especially because Enchantress decks draw a lot of cards. So like they're gonna draw more enchantments than you're gonna draw disenchants. Cataclysm can wipe all but one out. It worked quite well for me, although I still lost. I still went 0-2 against Enchantress deck, actually. But the first game I should have won. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I should have won it. I resolved a Cataclysm. I should have been able to win the game. I made a silly mistake towards the end. I had 2 toughness creatures out. I think they were down to 3 life points or something like that. Only one of them was shadow. The other 2 weren't shadow, and they had a chump blocker, 1 chump blocker. So I just needed to get 4 damage past their 1 chump blocker, which I could have done with 3 creatures. But I forgot that they had a Karmic Justice out on the other side of the board, and I used an Aura of Silence or a Disenchant to destroy something else, and he was like, okay, fine. And he picked off one of my creatures. So then I only had 2 creatures. And when I
Ah,
attacked with the 2 creatures, they chump blocked one of them. They were still down to 1, and the next turn they killed me. So I misplayed, but Cataclysm was actually very good for me in that game. And then the second game, yes, I lost, but if I had top decked a Cataclysm, I would have won. So it would have really helped me a lot. It did help me a lot. It would have helped me a lot more if I had Cataclysm against Enchantress. I think enough people play Enchantress that it's definitely worth sideboarding.
yeah. One thing I've noticed, I mean, I know you run into this in general, but with other types of decks too. But when I look up Enchantress decks, they're like all very, very much alike.
Yeah.
Um, so you can sort of like, I don't know, you can anticipate what an Enchantress deck is going to be doing maybe because everyone's playing them the same exact way. And I noticed that they don't use Femaref Enchantress too much.
Yeah, I don't really see that actually.
They're focusing more on the I'm going to say the wrong one. It's not
Argothian
Yavimaya,
and
but
the Enchantress as presence.
Argothian Enchantress. Is that it? Which one's the expensive one?
How do I spell ephemeref? Here we go. I got it. Ephemeref Enchantress is from Visions. Summon Enchantress, 1/2, 1 green, 1 white. Whenever an enchantment is put into any graveyard from play, draw a card. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think people run it as much. I haven't faced one actually.
the ones I find online are mostly running Argothian Enchantress. Sometimes I see one that has like one Femaref Enchantress in it, but I kind of like flipping it. Like some of the ones I haven't really put together an Enchantress deck yet, but the one white green deck I was kind of playing with a little bit, it uses some Femarefs, and part of the idea is that like I know some of my enchantments are gonna be destroyed.
Yeah. This might be nice in like an Oratog Rancor deck.
Yep. That's
Is that
kind of
what you're
what I was
doing?
doing. I had
Okay.
more Oratogs in it, and then I took some out. I think I just have one in now, but that's definitely like a cool way to go.
I like that. So Cataclysm going into the sideboard. I haven't faced goblins with it or elves or anything, but it's I mean And Cataclysm is also good for just any go wide deck, any deck that puts a lot more creatures on the board than I could otherwise deal with. Cataclysm can help against those. And then finally, I was running True Believer in the main board. And if you don't remember True Believer, it's this: 2 white, 2/2
Oh yeah,
cleric. You can't be the target of spells or abilities. I think that's going to go straight to the sideboard.
Triangle
Uh,
Man,
Triangle Man, yeah.
Pyramid Man.
First of all, people were just like, first of all, I wasn't playing decks that it was generally great against. I wasn't playing decks where I wasn't playing against a lot of decks where they could target me with an ability or a spell that would be like something I couldn't deal with or recover from.
Yeah,
Uh, I was facing a lot of burn or something, direct damage. So then they would just target the True Believer if they felt like it and then burn my face. It
yeah.
wasn't a problem for them. It was just coming out. It was either being ignored or just getting blown off the board immediately. It was really only in the deck for Oath of Druids because Oath of Druids, a lot of people were playing Oath decks, bringing out huge Terravors. And I heard somebody mention this, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. When you look at the Oath of Druids text,
Targets the
all the Oath
player.
cards from Exodus, it says during each player's upkeep, if that player controls fewer creatures than target opponent.
Huh.
So it's actually targeting a player, and True Believer ruins that. So I just had True Believer in the deck to deal with Oath of Druids. I wasn't seeing a lot of Oath of Druids. I'm like, this is better for the sideboard. But I'm definitely going to run 4 in the sideboard for when I face Oath of Druids decks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Those are my take homes. Cataclysm sideboard. True Believer sideboard. I need some chump blockers, although I might just go with Spirit Link instead. And then Wonder main board. We'll see how this performs next time around. But Alex, I think now we get into the official show. That's what's been going in our MTG lives since we spoke last for episode 103. Now let's get into segment 0. This is a new segment that we introduced towards the end of last year. We're continuing it in 2025. I'm going to set my timer. Why am I setting a timer? Because I don't want to spend too much time on segment 0, because segment 0 is titled Things We're Not Talking About. It's not the main focus of the damn episode, so we can't spend all time on it. 10 minutes, 10-minute timer. Will I go over that 10 minutes? I do often. Doesn't matter. I started the timer, Alex.
Okay.
9:59. First thing I want to talk about in segment 0, things we're not talking about, there was a banned and restricted list announcement. We mostly play pre-modern. We're starting to get into old school. So this isn't totally relevant to us, but there were some interesting things that I saw I wanted to mention very quickly. One is in modern, the One Ring was banned, Alex. Why do we care about this? We don't play modern. It's because you and I opened our first booster packs in a very long time when Lord of the Rings came out. When Lord of the Rings set came out, I opened 2 collector boosters. You opened 1 collector booster. We did it on the show. We were hoping to pull the 101 One Ring. We did not, but you did pull a One Ring. It's been a great return on investment, Alex, that booster pack.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the One Ring up to right now?
80 maybe.
$80. Which version do you have?
I have that art, but
You
it's
have this one right
the
here.
borderless extended art one.
This one?
No, it's the same art as that, but it's the one with no
Okay.
border.
Okay, let me go down. This one right here.
That one, yeah.
Borderless. This one. Number 380. Lord of the Rings. Tales of Middle Earth. Current market price, $70. Why am I bringing this up? You were like, what should I do? They're going to ban the One Ring probably. What should I do? Should I hold it? Should I sell it? I don't know. Well, you held it, and actually it's been funny because after the announcement came that it was banned in modern, it actually has had an uptick in price.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit, actually. Current market price of like $70. I think it
Yeah,
was down to about 50.
I think, yeah, I saw some people discussing it and they were kind of saying that, people were obviously were selling it before the ban, expecting it, and there were people who wanted to scoop them up for Commander, and I guess that they figured, it wasn't going to go a whole lot lower, or, you know, some people just started buying and it started bringing the price back up.
I say keep it. It's a good hold. You have the first printing of the One Ring. People will always, as long as Magic is a thing, and as long as people love Lord of the Rings, this will always be like a desirable card. I think both of those things will continue to happen for the remainder of our lives.
Yeah, I feel
So
like I
hold
may
it.
as well hold it.
Never give up.
I'm too
Never
lazy
get,
to sell it too.
what's the point? I mean, like $80, $70 would be nice, but not going to change your life. But it will bring you great joy. You can keep it in a binder for
Bring it
decades to
out,
come. You could open
pet
the
it
binder
every
every
once in a
once in a
while,
while. You can touch it, take a few deep breaths, go to
show
sleep a
it to
happy
people who
man.
don't care about it.
Yeah. Ladies come over, you'd
Yep.
be like, I got something to show you. First printing. Okay, so take home message is One Ring, still a good hold, in my opinion. Other other big cards were unbanned. So you and I never played in these formats, so I'm not that familiar with them, but Mox Opal was unbanned, Green Sun Zenith is unbanned, Faithless Looting unbanned, and Splinter Twin unbanned. Mox Opal, I will say, I was in a card shop digging through their bulk bin trying to find 25-cent pre-modern playables when this happened. And some kid walked in. He's like, there's Mox Opals back there behind the counter for me. He like called in before the announcement came to get them at a cheap price because he thought they were going to be unbanned. And then he walked out with several Mox Opals that he got cheap. And then the kid behind the counter was pissed. And then somebody else walked over and he was like, did blah, blah, blah just come in and get those Mox Opals? And then the guy was like, yeah, so and so let him put them on hold and then buy them today. But he wouldn't let us do that, blah, blah, blah. So disgruntled employees because customers were allowed to call in before the announcement and reserve the Mox Opals, but the employees couldn't do that.
Dang.
Green Sun Zenith card I never played with, but I just thought this was cool. I don't know exactly what got this card banned when it was originally banned, but I would like to play this card. One green X sorcery. Search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. Shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library. You play it, it goes back into your library so you can replay it again.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking in green, like all the toolbox creatures and all of the incredible mana generators that you can get early on in the game with
Yeah.
this. I can imagine it led to some very fast wins in
Right.
green
Yeah. You
down
could
the
ramp
line.
and pump and then bring something out sweet with this. And you don't even need to sacrifice a creature like you do with Pattern of Rebirth or Natural Order.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
presumably you could do it even a little faster, but
Very cool card. And then Splinter Twin. Faithless Looting, I've heard a lot of people mention this. Again, you and I never played in a format where this is legal. One red sorcery, draw two cards, then discard two cards. Flashback, two colors, one red.
I like that.
Just seems like a solid card, but I'm not sure what got it banned. Like this seems like blue does things that aren't more broken than this, but it's not in blue.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably part of the reason, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So we're very ignorant when it comes to Faithless Looting. Don't yell at us. Maybe there's very obvious reasons it was banned. And then Splinter Twin is unbanned. Two colorless, two red. Enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has tap. Put a token that's a copy of this creature onto the battlefield. That token has haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. Can imagine a lot of explosive wins happening with Splinter Twin. Fun card, very cool art. Think people were excited about this one.
that's sweet. And you can just keep using it, right? Like, unless am I reading it wrong?
The token has haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. It sounds to me like you just exile the token.
Yeah, but yeah, then
Yeah,
you can use it again, right?
I would think so. It's
And if
on the
you have
creature. Yeah,
Quirion Rangers in your deck, you could untap the Splinter Twin and do it again.
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that's really all I wanted to mention there. Mostly wanted to bring it up because Alex has a one ring, and the one ring is banned. But don't sell, Alex. It doesn't matter.
I'm staying strong.
That's the end of segment 0. No, it's not. Holy shit. I got excited.
We're
I
only
looked.
halfway through
Oh my
segment
God.
zero.
I got excited. I looked down. I saw we had a minute and 3 seconds left. I was like, nailed it. No, I didn't nail it. Next thing I wanted to talk about, segment zero, real quick. There was just something incredible posted on eBay. First edition Magic the Gathering artist proof set. 302 out of 302 cards. They are signed and sketched artist proof. So every single card in the set, present, signed, and with original art on the back of the artist proof from the original artist. This is an incredible collection. Don't know how long it would have taken for somebody to accumulate this, although I think actually they mentioned that down here. Description from the seller. This is not a joke. What I'm offering is a set of first edition APs or artist proofs. Some call them beta APs. Why do some call them beta APs? Well, Alex and I, you and I looked into this a little bit, and it sounded like artist proofs. 10 minutes, I got to start again. Restarted. We're back at 9 minutes and 54 seconds. Artist proofs weren't actually printed for the earliest sets. Wizards did not print artist proofs for Alpha, Beta, or Arabian Nights. The first Magic artist proofs were printed at the same time as Collector's Edition and have square corners just like Collector's Edition's cards. They are known as Beta artist proof because the card set is identical to Beta. So the Collector's Edition was based on the Beta set. And this is also the set that the first edition of artist proofs was based on. This is information from a website called ancestralmtg.com. It says the set took about 20 years to build. You can imagine you have to reach out to all these artists. You have to get their signatures. You have to, ensure that they have time set aside in their schedule because people are always sending them stuff, commissions, time set aside in their schedule to, make the little sketch, make the painting, whatever, on the back of the card. Luckily, I started back before they came super hard to find. Of the 302 cards in the set, what does he say? 280 or 93% are glossy back and 22 have the matte back. They should be considered placeholders until you find a glossy back AP, if any still exist. If any still exist, the other thing is on this Ancestral MTG webpage, they mentioned Wizards distributed approximately 50 copies of each beta artist proof to the artist who created the featured artwork. So there were only 50 made of each one of these original artist proofs. Who knows how many of them actually exist? A number of artists gave them away as business cards. Some have been destroyed since then. And then even if you can find some now, you can't get them signed or have original art drawn on the back by the actual artist because some of these artists have now passed away. Christopher Rush is no longer alive. Quentin Hoover is no longer alive. I don't know how many of the other original artists from Magic the Gathering has passed away since. But anyways, awesome collection. Potentially one of a kind. Collected all like this, signed and with art on the back. Only 50 of these unsigned without art ever existed of each one. He's collected one with a signature and original art on the back of each one all together in one collection.
I mean, it's still one of a kind because even if someone else managed to do the same exact thing, all of the artwork on the backs would be different,
That's a good point. Still one of a kind. Current offer, it's currently posted for $2.2 million or best offer. This person was, I first saw this on the MTG Finance Reddit. This person actually chimed in at some point in the Reddit. And yes, he could sell them on eBay, but I don't think the intention is actually to sell them on eBay. He really put them on eBay for the exposure. And he said, if I don't end up finding a buyer, I will be listing it with a big auction house. Not sure which one yet. $2.2 million seems low to me. And I'm saying this as somebody who definitely does not fucking have $2.2 million and will probably never have $2.2 million. And if I did, I wanted to actually had $2.2 million to spend on Magic because before I would feel comfortable spending $2.2 million on Magic, I would probably have $25 million. Really. So this is like way outside of my price range. Uh, but I still feel like it's underpriced. We consider how expensive Magic has become, how collectible it is, how unique this collection is. Just compare this to other collectibles in general, and even some other collectible Magic cards. We're talking first edition APs.
Yeah, well, I mean, knowing that there were only 50 to begin with and some were destroyed, like you already have the equivalent of like a 1 of 50 serialized card value-wise that you're dealing with, you know?
He also said somewhere in here, where did this say? Where did he say this? Am I willing to break up the set? Am I interested in trades? The only trade I consider is someone bringing me a pallet of sealed collector's edition slash international edition sets. Collecting those is my new obsession. Some people were talking about what a strange comment this was. A pallet, why would he want a pallet of collector's edition for this? He mentioned this. Oh, so the actual comment I read it was somebody quoted this and said, "LOL, this guy has got brain worms." He chimed in and he said, "Yeah, it was a silly comment for me to add to the listing, but it's partially true. I do love CE, mainly because others like to hate on them. It's the same reason I started collecting APs 20 years ago when no one wanted them. I like this guy's
Oh,
mind as an investor. He's a contrarian value investor. It
yeah, well,
worked
I mean,
out well for him in this case. He also said it's also why I collected alphas in the late 90s when everyone preferred betas. We remember this time.
yep,
Alphas were significantly cheaper than betas. Now they were still outside of our price range because we were buying revised and cheap stuff. Uh, but alphas were cheaper than betas. Nobody wanted them because you couldn't play with them because of the strange corners. Unless you had a whole deck of alpha, which was too hard to build. It was too hard to build entire alpha decks, at least for
yeah.
kids. But he's always looked for the value in where the value was in old Magic. What are the things that people don't want at the time? Let me collect those, see what happens 10, 20 years from now. So who knows? Maybe the trade for a whole pallet of CE could actually be a good trade.
I wonder what that go would go for, just like
I don't even
current
know.
value.
I don't remember. I haven't looked into it, but I know they took a big hit in price when Magic 30 came out, collector's edition. Like
Oh, really?
I was seeing sealed collector's edition boxes just being offered for sale. Now, I don't know how that long that lasted. I think people were definitely scooping them up at the time too. So
Yeah.
the price it might have got back to its original price like very quickly. I'm not sure. Haven't kept up on it. And when I say took a hit, I don't even think it was like a huge hit. It's not like they got super cheap and I was getting ready to snatch them up. They were still expensive because there were still people, there were some hardcore collectors that were mad about Magic 30 and they were like, not even the old stuff is safe any longer. Let's get rid of this. But you got to imagine probably the people looking to offload that stuff are people who had like hoarded over the last 20 years. They probably had like 10 sealed sets and they just wanted to get rid of some of them to diversify or something. I don't know. But they were still people who wanted to get into old school who want that stuff. Our buddy Ryan is one example because, unlimited betas, still too expensive. But a lot of the old school guys who play in tournaments, the big old school tournaments, they allow you to play collector's edition. So if you want to
Yeah.
try to
I
get
mean,
into old school at what is still, I don't want to say a reasonable price because it's all unreasonable, but the most affordable way to get into old school is to buy the collector's edition. So
yeah. And you would imagine that that would bring the price of those up in the long term, as long as the format's still popular.
I think it's going to. I think even young kids now, if they continue to play Magic, eventually, like we did, they'll want to go back to the oldest stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still like it still has a draw for people like the Power Nine, Black Lotus, Moxes, even people who weren't even alive when those were originally printed and they play Magic. There's still an aura associated with those cards. So I think, more young people will always continue to get into old school as the years go by.
I'm gonna have to
Collector's
go through
edition.
and look at all of these original sketches on these because some of them are pretty cool, and I didn't
Some of
look too
them,
closely at.
some of them are really cool.
I like that basalt monolith that I can see right there.
Yes,
That's pretty
it's funny you
cool.
say that because I believe this is a Jesper Myforce. Yeah, if you look through this set, Jesper Myforce really went all out
Oh,
on the
cool.
ones that he did, like
That's neat.
really full art,
Yeah, that bad
full
moon above
color.
it, same thing.
Also Jesper.
Good. And I like that bayou down there at the bottom right too. That looked
Also,
kind of cool.
guess who did that one, Alex?
Yeah, that's why I could see it on the card
Yeah,
right when you were
Jesper.
saying it.
So very cool. That's the end of segment zero. Things we're not talking about. We went 20 minutes, so that wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. Alex, now let's get into the main topic for today.
Okay.
Segment one. I'm calling segment one a pre-modern Rebels review. We're going to talk about pre-modern Rebels. Alex has some stuff prepped for you today. I'm going to pull up all the pre-modern Rebels. There are 31 cards where the card types include Rebel and the card is legal and pre-modern. We're going to talk about all 31 today. Some are going to be very brief. So I'm just going to read. Others we have more to say.
Yeah, I skipped over some of these by name. I didn't mention all of
Yeah.
them by name exactly, but we can kind of see them as we talk about some of the other
Yeah.
ones that let you fetch them.
There's also some information if you want to read some background. Alex is going to give you some background here, but there's information about the Rebel class on mtgwiki.com.
Yeah,
That's where I
I
go
kind
for
of
my
talked about some
basics.
stuff here. I'm going to talk about some stuff that we're a little more interested in playing pre-modern. If you want to go a little deeper and see some of the stuff about Rebels in the newer sets, feel free. But according to MTG Wiki, Rebel is a creature class that debuted in Mercadian Masks and was featured heavily in the Masks block. All mechanical rebels are white or black permanents, except for Skyshroud Poacher, which is green, and the silver-bordered blue creature Alexander Clamilton.
I gotta pull up the Clamilton.
I figured you probably would,
This was a
but
good.
we don't
This
care
was a
about that.
goofy one.
He's a clam.
That my internet isn't cooperating with me right now, so
That's okay.
maybe
He's a
we'll get to
clam.
Clamilton later.
Looks like he has a squirt gun. Later rebels were
Yeah,
featured
I
in
saw
red.
that.
What? What did you say?
I saw that he had a squirt gun. That's all I said.
Oh,
Oh, here we
oh.
go. Okay, he got a super soaker. He's a legendary creature, Clamfolk Advisor Rebel. 2 colors, 1 blue. 0/4. Whenever you cast a wordy spell, scry 2. A spell is wordy if it has 4 or more lines of rules text. You can also pay 1 colorless and 1 red and tap it. Choose target creature you don't control. Reveal the top card of your library. Alexander Clamilton gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is the number of lines of rules text of the revealed card. Alexander Clamilton fights that creature. I'm surprised he doesn't tutor anything up.
Hmm.
Tutor clams, potentially. Or rebels. Or rebel clans. Clams. Okay. Back to MTG Wiki, Alex.
Um, there's also an explanation of what rebels are and what motivates them, but I think we kind of understand that, right? They're rebels. We've all listened to Billy Idol. Um, like many creatures of the mercenary creature type, most rebels can recruit other rebels, allowing a player to search their library and putting a rebel card from it onto the battlefield. Due to their infectious enthusiasm, rebels can recruit creatures more powerful, that is, with a higher casting cost, than they are. This was framed in contrast to mercenaries who could only cajole weaker creatures. Notable rebel leaders for our purposes are Cho Manu of the Cho Aram and Lin Civi of the Vec. So yeah, basically rebels
We're going to learn more about both of them.
fetch from your deck and bring into play creatures that have a higher casting cost than them. So you can kind of climb the ladder by bringing in more and more expensive creatures one by one.
So you get a rebel out, you activate its ability, they fetch another rebel, put them directly onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
So you can see how that could snowball.
Yeah.
So let's start. We're going to go through the pre-modern legal rebels one by one, slowly, painfully.
Slowly.
I got nothing else to do, Alex, today. We're going to start with the 1/1 drop. There is a single pre-modern legal rebel 1 drop. It is
Ramosian Sergeant.
Hermosian Sergeant. It's 1 white, 1/1 creature rebel. Pay 3 colorless tap. Search your library for a rebel card with converted mana cost 2 or less and put that card into play. Then you shuffle your library. It is a common from Mercadian Masks. Only printed in Mercadian Masks. Gather rating of 4.244. Very high rating. Current market price of 18 cents. I looked that up earlier. Anything you want to say about Ramosian Sergeant, Alex? I have a little bit.
Well, it can fetch 6 possible 2 casting cost rebels.
That seems good.
Unless I can't count.
Well, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You nailed it. They're right here.
When I did this, I didn't have them arranged by casting cost. I wasn't even thinking that I could do that. So I kept having
Sorted
to
by.
go through and count and make
I
sure I
don't
was
have this on the
counted.
shared screen, but sort up here, sorted. Here, I'll just do this. Sorted by mana value.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go.
But yeah, it can fetch 6 possible rebels with its ability. One's a vanilla 2/2 creature. Um, one is a 2/2 with vigilance. 2 are utility creatures, which we'll get to, and 2 are fetching rebels that can fetch a 3 casting cost rebel for 4 mana. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm going to highlight the 2 that are fetching rebels.
Yeah.
So 2 of the 2 drops have a tutor ability. The first one's right next to the Ramosian Sergeant here. Defiant Falcon. 1 colorless, 1 white creature, rebel bird. Good for a rebel and a bird deck. 1/1. It's a rebellious bird. Flying. Pay 4 colorless, tap, search your library for a rebel card with converted mana cost 3 or less. Put that card into play, then shuffle your library. So again, you can go 1 up when you fetch 1 up in mana value.
Yes. And the other one's just the same, except instead of a 1/1 flyer, it's a 1/2 groundy.
Defiant Falcon. It's from Nemesis. A couple of the most powerful rebels in the pre-modern format, in my opinion, are 3 drops. We're going to see those later. So those 2 good rebels are common targets for the Defiant Falcon. The other one that fetches as a 2 drop is Ramosian Lieutenant. 1 colorless, 1 white, 1/2. Again, pay 4, tap, search your library for a rebel card with converted mana cost 3 or less, put that card into play, then shuffle your library. Nothing else to say about these 2 drops.
Pretty straightforward so far.
One thing I wanted to say about Ramosian Sergeant actually is, so we're going back to the 1/1 drop. I was actually thinking about this for my Imperial White Weenie. Even though there is just a single white, or even though there's just a single rebel in the White Weenie deck I'm playing. But that rebel is so powerful and commonly used in all sorts of different White Weenie decks that I see that it might even be worth me running the Ramosian Sergeant just to get that one. I'm going to talk about that one right now because it is another 2 drop.
Yes.
So we're on the 2 drops already. It is Whipcord.
This is probably like the best standalone card out of all of these if you're going to use it in like a non-rebel deck.
Yeah. It is 2 white, 2/2, Soldier Rebel. Pay 1 white and tap to tap target creature. So it's a 2/2 for 2 with a special ability. You know I love 2/2 for 2s with a special ability, Alex. You know that about me.
It has 2 special abilities.
It has 2 special abilities. 2/2 for 2 with 2 special abilities. The other one is Morph. So Morph, 1 white. You can play it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3. Turn it face up anytime for its Morph cost. Kind of comes in handy sometimes in White Weenie because it can be you can use it to bluff out a Exalted Angel sometimes too. Like Exalted Angel is another
Oh yeah,
common
yeah.
deck in white pre-modern, another common card in white pre-modern decks. And when something comes out as a morph, you don't know if it's going to be an Exalted Angel or is it a Whipcord.
Yeah. Good comment, good
I'm sure
point.
there's other I'm sure there's other morph stuff too, but those are the two that I see a lot. I'm trying to pull up Exalted Angel real quick. Because I think all morph creatures come out as 2/2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exalted Angel, if you play it for 3, it also comes out as a 2/2. I think that's just standard for morph.
Yes.
So out of the 2 drops, we saw 2 already that have tutor abilities. We saw the Whipcorder. And then other 2, I think you said this already, they're pretty vanilla. Well, one is vanilla. Sorry. One is vanilla, that is the Fresh Volunteers. Just 1 colorless, 1 white, 2/2 creature rebel. And the other have what I would call middling abilities, I guess. Steadfast Guard, 2 white, 2/2 with vigilance, which is nice. I like me some vigilance, so you got a good
Uh-huh.
blocker slash attacker there. And then there is the Sword Dancer, 1 colorless, 1 white, 1/2. Pay 2 white. Target attacking creature gets -1, -0 until end of turn. Decent creatures, but like they're not making the cut in any of the constructed white weenie decks that I've put together so far.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about any of these two
Oh, I
drops.
want to talk about the whip
Oh,
quarter flavor text, of
oh,
course.
even more. Okay.
On Gatherer,
Okay.
9/18/2013 at 11:45 and 35 seconds in the AM.
We got an annals from we got an annals from Gatherer.
Kazan Paus remarks,
Okay.
his bolas whirl like galaxies. It takes them 250 million years to
Oh.
rotate once? Question mark. Ha ha.
Oh,
Got
clever
him.
boy, clever boy. Okay, I like that one, Alex. I like that one from the Annals of Gatherer. I forgot to pull some quotes from the Annals of Gatherer. That's one of my favorite things we do on the show. Pull from the Annals of Gatherer.
Another comment actually I saw in there, which I thought was very strange. Someone was like, the whip quarter ability, like they said something like it's permanent. Like it's not until end of turn. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, but they have an untap
Untap
phase.
phase. I'm pretty sure that person just doesn't. They know less about how to play Magic than we do, maybe.
It seems like a weird thing to notice though for someone who doesn't know much about the game. You know what I mean? To pick out that it doesn't say until end
Yeah.
of turn. Like maybe they were
Nobody.
just being like sarcastic. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody like immediately responded to them in the comments and was
Yeah,
like,
there
"You
were no like hateful like
fucking
rebuttals to that either.
moron." Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay. So we got some good 2 drops there, especially the Whipcord. It's a beautiful, beautiful creature. On to the 3 drops. How
By the way,
many?
there are 12 fetchable 3 drops, unless I can't count.
Oh, 12. Okay, 12 3 drops. 3 of them have a tutor ability. You want to start with those?
Sure, yeah.
The 3 casting cost fetchers. Let's start with the queen of the rebels, the legendary Lincivi, Defiant Hero. 1 colorless,
And
2 white.
also, oh sorry.
Or are we gonna and what? And also what?
I was just gonna say, and also probably the best fetcher of them all, but go ahead.
Yes, yes. 1 colorless, 2 white, 1/3 creature rebel legend. Pay X, tap, search your library for a rebel card with converted mana cost X or less, and put that card into play. Then shuffle your library, and then also pay 3 colorless. Put target rebel card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library, so you can use her to fetch rebels of any casting cost from your deck as long as you have the mana to pump into her. And you can also use her to recover rebels from the graveyard, get back into your library, and then you can fetch them right up again.
Yeah, which is huge. And also, I wasn't even paying attention to this at first, but she pays one less to fetch any of them than the other rebels do, because they're all paying
That's true.
one more than the casting cost of the creature, and
That is
she's only
key.
paying the casting cost.
Good spot, Alex. Excellent that you pointed that out. I was just
Is
going to
it?
blow right past it. I didn't even think about it, but it is very true. Yeah, all the other fetchers require one more mana than the casting cost of the creature to fetch them. She does not.
Yeah, pretty strong card for, a 3 drop. And it's 1/3, a little bit of survivability.
It survives a Simoon. It survives a Pyroclasm. It
A shock.
survives an Unyaro Bee Sting. It survives a Sacrificed Goblin Legionnaire. It survives an Earthquake for 1, an Earthquake for 2. What else does it
Does
survive?
Grim Lavamancer target creatures as well as players?
Uh, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It survives a Grim Lavamancer. Look that up to confirm. But yeah, I think Grim Lavamancer is any target. So Lin Civi is a rare from Onslaught. Gather rating at 4.158. I looked that up. Current market price of $2.30. I wanted to point this out. It is rare for creatures to make the banned list. When Magic bans creatures, it's more often a non-creature spell. Tend to
Oh,
be more
okay.
powerful in general. Then the creature in Lin Civi actually was banned in June 2000. It made the ban list in the masks block constructed format. And I got a little something from the Annals of Gather, posted by guest 116261937 on August 29th, 2010 at 2:16 and 41 seconds in the PM. Guest says, in masks, because the legend rule at the time stated that a legendary permanent in play would stay in play should a second instance of the permanent enter play, and the second one would go to the graveyard as a state-based effect. So in that block, if both players were running Rebel decks, the player who got Lin Civi out first generally had a massive advantage over the other player who would have to kill the opponent's Lin Civi before they could play theirs and have it survive.
Yeah.
Today they would both die if a second Lin Civi was put into play.
And I don't think that's even true now
It's
anymore, right?
not.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. It's only if it's on the same side of the board now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I when I read this comment, I was reminded that there have been multiple versions of the Legends rule. And this banning of Lin Civi happened when the original version of the Legends rule was in place. This original rule was in place from Legends until Champions of Kamigawa, and when it was changed. Originally, only one creature of the same name with the creature type of legend could be in play at the same time. For a while, they were even on the restricted list, meaning there could be only one creature of the same name in each deck. They
Oh,
changed that around the time of Ice Age. Any person could play a legend provided that the legend wasn't already on the battlefield. If it was, that card was stuck in its owner's hand. They could cast it if they wanted to, but the newest one would immediately be put into the graveyard. So there's no incentive to do so. So
yeah.
yeah,
I don't like that.
I don't either. And that's good that they changed it. I I don't like the way that what they changed it to though, apparently, which is if somebody else played a second one, then they both died.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
I kind of like if you have one out and I play one, yours dies.
Yes. What is the current Legends rule? I think this is the current Legends rule. I think it's been in place since Magic 2014. If a player controls two or more legendary permanents of the same name, so that's you, if you control two,
Yeah.
when state-based effects are checked, that player chooses one of those permanents and immediately puts the others into their owner's graveyard
Yeah.
without any player having an opportunity to respond. It doesn't destroy the other permanents, does not cause them to be sacrificed, cannot be prevented by being indestructible or having regeneration. So it's really just about you as a single player only being able to have one legendary permanent on your side of the board in play. As far as I know, that's been in place since 2014.
Yeah. Now the way I think what I was proposing, and I mean, who knows? I mean, that maybe that would be a terrible way to do it too, because I'm not even thinking about all the consequences. But that's more like the um, world enchantment rule, right? Like if I put down a world enchantment and you already had one out, yours gets destroyed, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if we're playing old school, you have an abyss out, and I'm playing mono green. I play, and I can't get any creatures out because they're just being swallowed up into by the abyss every turn. I could play a Concordant Crossroads, and then that removes your abyss
Yeah.
from
Which
play.
is
I
kind of
believe
cool
that's
because it's a way to add some enchantment removal to certain colors and certain decks, you know?
which is why I'm going to put Concordant Crossroads in my sideboard of my old school mono green deck. But so Lin Civi is the first of three Rebel 3 drops that have a tutor ability. I wrote down the other two. Did you write them down too?
Defiant Vanguard.
Defiant Vanguard is the next one I have, yeah. So Defiant Vanguard is right up here. Two colorless, one white, 2/2, creature human rebel. When it blocks at end of combat, destroy it and all creatures it blocked this turn. You can pay 5 mana and tap it to search your library for a rebel card with converted mana cost 4 or less. Put it into play, then shuffle your library. Rare from Nemesis. Gather rating of around 3.5. Current market price of 18 cents. Nobody really plays this one.
Not a terrible ability, though.
No, not terrible. I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
But just think about all the rebels that you can choose from in the pre-modern card pool. How many 3-drops do you want to have in your deck? You're definitely going to
Yeah.
go with multiple Lin CV. Does Defiant Vanguard make the cut? Not
Yeah.
often. Next one, especially when you
Um,
see some of the other 3-drops we have. The next tutor is Ramosian Captain. One colorless, 2 white, 2/2, first strike. Pay 5, tap, search for a rebel, 4 converted mana cost or less. Put it into play, then shuffle your library. I think I like the Vanguard better. I'd rather have the Vanguard's second ability than
I
first
kind of think
strike.
so too. That self-destruct death touch ability.
Yeah.
Plus, in white, maybe you could like band with it and block multiple creatures at once or something.
Oh, that's true. You could bring out banding. Although people say this all the time, and I'm like, banding isn't that difficult. And then I'm like, well, hold on a second. I actually don't know how it works.
Right, yeah. That's more because we never use it though.
I know we never
I've
use
seen
it.
people summarize it very well. You can summarize it pretty.
I gotta look it up again. But let's say I ban Defiant Vanguard with Banalish Hero
Oh,
and I
don't ask me.
block. I think I can direct all of the damage from my opponent's creatures to the Defiant Vanguard, which would destroy. But then why would I do that?
Yeah, but see, now I don't
Why
know
would I
if,
do
yeah,
it?
it's
Why would I
considered
do
to
it?
be blocking them if it's in a
Yeah.
band that blocks.
Also, why would I do it? I just block with the Defiant Vanguard.
We definitely don't need to go down a banding rules
No, you brought it up,
rabbit
Alex.
hole.
Go. Explain why I do it. I was watching somebody do some interesting things with Timberwolves the other day in old school, and I was like, I think I need to put a couple Timberwolves at least in my sideboard. Another banding creature. But those are the 3/3 drop tutors. I also saw that the 3 drops contain they contained a couple interesting creature pairs. I don't know if you looked into these ones at all, Alex. If not, I'm going to mention them just quickly. Right here, I'm showing Lawbringer and Lightbringer. They're
Uh-huh.
both 2/2s. They're both 2 casting cost, 1 white. They both seem like really good sideboard cards, or just a one of, just generally a one of to tutor for. So Lawbringer, you can tap, sacrifice it to remove a target red creature from the game. Lightbringer, you can tap and sacrifice it to remove target black creature from the game.
Uh-huh.
So they're just like, some removal on a stick that you could sideboard in and then tutor for
Yeah,
whenever you
right.
needed it. I also like that Lightbringer removes the black creature from the game,
Yes, good point.
so you can deal with some pesky graveyard creatures. Like Nether Spirit was in the mask block. And that's a creature that
Oh,
just
okay.
keeps coming back, and it is keeps coming black. It is a black creature that keeps coming back, and it can be quite annoying. And Lightbringer removes it from the game. So that's some good removal options for your Rebel deck. There's also this other pair. They're not right next to each other,
Oh yeah,
but they're the two Informers.
the Informers. Yes,
I don't know if you wrote anything about the
I
Informers in
did.
here.
I did.
I just missed it.
I wrote that these are both narcs who ruin
Oh, yes.
fun.
They are narcs that ruin fun. You did mention, okay, I'll just say what they are first.
Yeah.
Mercenary Informer, two colorless, one white, 2/1. Rebel Mercenary.
Hmm.
Can't be the target of black spells or abilities. And you can pay two colorless and one white to put target mercenary card on the bottom of its owner's library.
So this is hate against mercenary decks.
Which on its face is not great. Because mercenaries, I don't know what they're like this time at this point. I think they're still not like a very interesting clan. But back in this day, when this card was printed in Prophecy, nobody cared about mercenaries and you weren't really playing mercenaries. So why would you want to put this in your deck? I think the only reason you run it is to deal with the next Informer, the Rebel Informer. Two colors, one black, 1/2 creature mercenary rebel. Can't be the target of white spells or abilities. And you can pay three colorless to put target rebel card on the bottom of your owner's library. So there were a lot of rebel mirror matches back in the day of Masked Block. It was a very powerful deck. It was dominating tournaments, showing up in the top 8 of a lot of tournaments. And a lot of people in the rebel deck, they would just run mostly white deck, but then also put a rebel informer in there and be able to cast this one black spell just to be able to put their opponent's rebels back on the bottom of their library.
Right. Okay.
And I guess you could run the informer if you wanted to get rid of. Sorry, I guess you could run the mercenary informer if you wanted to get rid of the rebel informer.
No, I don't think so because it can't be the target of white spells or abilities.
Son of a bitch. This is why I need you, Alex. You read the cards. So look, here was what happens to me. Sometimes I read the cards and it's like it's not even being absorbed. I knew that.
Yeah, yeah. You're busy focusing on other things right now.
I got different screens to look at. I got a lot of stuff going on here. So the rebel informer, I think this is the one that really got play. I don't know what the mercenary informer was used for then.
Yeah, I guess maybe like in a limited like format, like if people are cracking and building their decks right there, and you have both rebels and mercenaries in the same format. Like
I
you
just
might
don't
see
know
people
how.
making some decks with mercenaries, but
Yeah, I guess this is where my ignorance comes in. That I don't know what mercenaries anybody was ever concerned about except for a rebel informer, the mercenary rebel.
uh,
But you can't target rebel
I
informer.
think they're mostly not too good. But there's I mean, I don't really know what it was like back at the time if people did play more mercenaries or not, but there's one or two that are okay.
Not that many. We did see, yes. So it was also in the mass block. We know there are some mercenary cards
Yeah.
because we went through this before. We looked them up not that long ago. I don't, maybe probably off the show. We never did an episode on mercenaries, but there was a spike in the price of a couple of the mercenary cards. I don't know when this happened, maybe like 6 or 8 months ago, because of something that was printed in a set that came out at the time. And then the
Oh, okay.
prices rapidly dropped back down because people just weren't as interested in them as I thought they would be. But and I
I
know at
vaguely
least some
remember
of
that.
those mercenaries were printed in Mercadian masks. So I guess there were some running around, but not
Mercenaries also have an excellent tutor, Cataran Summons, which is a one black tutor that pulls a mercenary to your hand with no downside.
that's the one in particular that got the
Oh, is
priciest,
it?
I
Is that the
think.
card? Yeah, okay. And I was thinking
That's the
that's a
one that
good
went up in
card.
price the
You could
most.
run that with some things that change effects, like
Cataran
Artificial Evolution or something like that, and then tutor for things that aren't mercenaries.
Cataran summons. How do I spell that, Alex?
Cataran, I don't know,
C A T A R
Cateran.
E R. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, it never got that expensive, but it immediately shot up from like 50 cents to $5 and then immediately came back down.
Nice.
Search your library for a mercenary card, reveal that card, put it in your hand. People were like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, no, not actually interested." So, Mercenary Informer, Rebel Informer. Rebel Informer was the one that I actually saw get play sometimes, and it was actually in
I
some of
also
the
thought it
top
was
level
interesting
decks.
that they made the black one 1/2 and the white one is 2/1.
That is weird.
Not that it would have to be that way, but I feel like it's typically like,
Not what I would have expected. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, white's known for the toughness.
Yeah.
Unholy Strength versus Blessing. It goes back to Alpha. +2/+1 versus +1/+2. You know what I'm
Which one's
saying?
blessing? I know there's a holy strength, which is the same.
Shit. That's what I meant to say
I
then.
think blessing gives them pump makes them pumpable.
Yeah, maybe you feed 2 white into it and it pumps something.
Blessing is 2 white to cast, and then yeah, it gives
+1/+1 for each 1 white. But that's what I meant, Alex. Unholy Strength versus Holy Strength.
holy strength.
Close enough. So we have the three tutors. We have the Lawbringer Lightbringer pair. We have the Mercenary Informer Rebel Informer pair. And then there's another pair, Gliders.
Oh yeah,
So we
they have
have
protection.
two 3 casting cost gliders. There's a Thermal Glider, which is 2 colorless, 1 white, 2/1 flying pro red. And then a Nightwind Glider, which is 2 colorless, 1 white, 2/1 flying pro black. So there's some nice little creatures to tutor up depending on, the color
Yeah.
removal that your opponent is playing. They have
Mhm.
some invasion and they have protection. Finally, there were some others with just, I said they were a few other 3 drops with middling abilities. Shield Dancer, Soul Charmer, and Task Force. Shield Dancer's 2 colorless, 1 white, 1/3. Pay 2 colorless, 1 white. The next time target attacking creature would deal combat damage to Shield Dancer this turn, that creature deals that damage to itself instead. What do I have to say about this card? Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting. That's it. I don't know if you have anything to say about Shield Dancer.
I don't think so.
Soul Charmer. This is a 2/2. Whenever Charmer deals combat damage to a creature, you gain 2 life unless that creature's controller plays 2 colorless. Kind of underwhelming.
Meh.
And then Task Force. It's a 1/3. Whenever Task Force becomes the target of a spell or ability, it gains +0/+3 until end of turn. Reminiscent of the Darbu Spiritualist, I believe, is
Correct.
the cleric that you can target and give it +0/+something. It's used in those life decks where they make the toughness really huge by targeting it many, many times with an Encore creature. And then they sacrifice it to Starlit Sanctum to gain life equal to the toughness. So they can gain a huge amount of life. You win the
Yep.
game via life gain. I don't know if there's anything similar you can do with this Rebel.
There are.
You could
I
do,
noticed at least one or two. There's a card called Worthy Cause, which is a white instant. Um, Obviously, you can't use Starlit Sanctum on this because it's not a cleric, but
yeah.
you could use Worthy Cause to sacrifice it to gain the life equal to its toughness.
So Encores to target the task force to make it super tough, then cast a Worthy Cause from Tempest for 1 white. Sacrifice a creature, gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. It also has a buyback at 2.
Uh-huh. I'm sure there's more. There's got to be more. I didn't look too closely, but I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't even surprise me if there's some artifacts that do stuff like that.
I mean, this looks like a janky combo enabler. There's probably
Yeah.
multiple things people have tried to do
Yeah.
with it over the years. This art looks very 80s to me. Early
Yeah, it looks like
80s.
the cover of like a choose your own adventure novel or like a older sci-fi novel, fantasy novel.
That's the end of the 3 drops, Alex.
I think so.
Shield Dancer, Soul Charmer, Task Force. We're on to the 4 drops. There are 2 4 drops with tutor ability. Let's start with those. First one is Ramosian Commander. 2 colorless, 2 white, 2/4. Pay 6 colorless. So now we're getting into like a lot of mana. This is one thing about Rebels. It can really snowball, but also in order to really snowball, they're mana intensive.
Yeah.
So, so if you want to be dealing with these higher casting cost Rebels, you're gonna have to play a slow game. You're gonna have to have a lot of land. You have to pay 6 and tap the commander to search your library for a rebel card with converted mana cost 5 or less. Put the card into play, then shuffle your library.
Yeah. I don't
It's a,
love this one so much, although I guess it depends directly on how much you want to get 5 casting cost rebels, but as
yeah,
we'll see, you don't have too many options there.
yeah,
Just a 2/4 creature, I don't know. This one, I feel like I'd make the rebel deck without this one.
yeah. I don't love it. I noticed it's not highly played at all. At 4 mana, I said it's playable with an activation cost of 6. I don't think you're getting to the point where it's not worth including this as a tutor. There's not. I think I just wrote down exactly what you said. There's not even much in the Rebel clan, at least in pre-modern, worth tutoring up at this point
Yeah.
at that casting cost.
And you have Lin Civi to use instead, so yeah.
And you have Lin Civi. Yeah, oh, that's a great point. Anytime you get above Lin Civi, you're like you also have Lin Civi to do these things.
Yeah.
Uh, the other 4-drop tutor was a very interesting one, a unique one.
Yeah.
Sky Shroud Poacher. 2 colorless, 2 green. So now we're out of the white creatures. It is a 2/2 rebel. You can pay 3 and tap it to search your library for an elf card, and you put that card into play, then shuffle your library. It's a rare from Nemesis, gather rating at 4.172, current market price of $3.97. When I looked it up on MTG stocks earlier, I noticed that it was $20 for some reason back in 2021.
Oh, wow.
So
Well, I was
people
just
were
gonna
really
say,
excited
like,
about
this
the
is
Sky
cool
Shroud.
because you can get any elf. It doesn't matter what the elf's casting cost is. So if you have any sort of like really powerful elf, you can grab this with it. Maybe some legends that are elf legends.
Yeah. Uh, I did think that. So I noticed. So this is from Nemesis. I remembered this. In Nemesis, there's a trio of recruiters.
Oh,
There's one for elves, one for merfolk, and one for goblins.
oh, okay.
Goblin is the Mog Catcher. Can't remember what the merfolk one is called. And for the elves, you have the Sky Shroud Poacher. Seems like a weird name. It sounds like they're like killing Sky Shroud elves. Sky Shroud
Right?
Poacher? Uh, I think the Sky Shroud Poacher is the best of the bunch. I don't know. It's not $20 worth, but I think it was the best of the bunch because there's, like you said, there are some high casting cost elves that are highly playable. Deranged Hermit.
Deranged Hermit is an elf.
Exactly. That's the one that popped into my head. So you get Sky Shroud Poacher out, you can tutor up your Deranged Hermit for 3 the next turn.
Comments say Seedborn Muse as well.
Oh, I forget that that's an elf. Okay. But those are the 4-drop tutors. The one actual white rebel, not that interesting. The most interesting 4-drop rebel tutor is really an elf tutor. So, whole different style of deck we're talking about there. I wrote 6 other 4-drops that have some sort of special ability. One is one that you mentioned actually in the notes. Cho Mano Revolutionary. This one looks like the best of the bunch, in my opinion.
I think it's
Cho
probably, yeah,
Mano.
the most played at least, which probably means the same thing.
Cho Mano Revolutionary. This is the 10th edition art. Let me pull up the masks art.
Yeah, go back.
2 colorless, 2 white, creature rebel legend. It's 2/2. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Cho Mano Revolutionary. Just straight up all damage. So not combat damage, all damage. Gather rating at 4.045. Still very cheap. 63-cent market price. I said it's a great blocker. Of course, it's a great damage sink if you have any Encore in your deck, which people often run in White Weenie decks. A fearless and
Sure.
worthy attacker if you can pump or trample with it.
Uh-huh. Someone points out that he is standing in front of a fountain and not wearing a sombrero.
I had to look at it really close to figure out if it was a hat. I did realize that it was not a hat. It also has big hands too. Look at those hands. Actually, these are Jeff Dobb like hands. Alex, you know Jeff Dobb?
No.
I think that's his name. Daub. I'm spelling it wrong. He was a former arm wrestling world champion.
Oh, okay. I bet I know the guy you're talking about. I've seen him like bending bars.
They
Yeah, that
call him
guy.
like
Yep,
the
yep.
the
I've seen
human
him. He has
Popeye.
giant hands,
He has giant arms and giant hands.
like Popeye.
Yeah, he has some sort of disorder, really. They look just incredibly swollen. His hands are like three times the size of other very large men's hands, like just other professional arm wrestlers that are like 6'10" giants. His hand just completely envelops them when he's arm wrestling. This is his wife, I think. Anyways,
Anyways,
Cho Mano, Jeff Dobb like hands, really, if you think about it.
not quite. Not quite that size.
Look, almost look at it. Look, like that's a chunky finger.
I would like to point out that Cho Manu is the leader of the Cho Aram, who are a group of humans and ogres. I don't know why, but apparently
That's a
they
weird one.
just are buddies with each other. Uh, and he led them in rebellion against the Mercadians. Did you know, Steve, that Cho Manu and the healer Orim got married?
I had no idea, but they now that you say that, I look at this picture, I think of Orem. They seem like a perfect pair to me.
Yeah,
So I'm very happy to hear that.
yeah, yeah.
Chomano. Some other four drops with special abilities. We got the squads, Alex. There's two squads. There's the Ballista squad and the Riviere squad. The Ballista squad is three colorless, one white, 2/2 rebel. Pay X and one white tap. Ballista squad deals X damage to target attacking or blocking creature.
Yes.
Has a solid rating. I said that it's kind of mana intensive. Its use is limited to creatures in combat and only once per turn, since you need to tap it. It's decent. I'm probably not going to run it. It was rated higher than I thought it would be on
I was gonna say
Gather.
people online seem to like it. They all had, you know, enjoyed it for creature removal. Like you said, it's a little mana intensive, but I guess if you're playing white and you need some creature removal, and you have all that mana like we were talking about in a Rebels deck where maybe you already do,
Yes.
yeah, I could see it being useful.
That's a good point. If you're playing white, you need some creature removal. So I look at this and I usually think, I'm going to have STP in my deck. Why would I run this? Too mana intensive. And I also have like tutors that I need to be feeding my mana into. Like I want to be tutoring up rebels. I got to feed me into the Ballista squad too. It's just too much. But I think actually in the mass block, you might not have had STP.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. There were some
Yeah.
pretty big stretches where I think there was no STP available.
So it could just be that, yeah, it's highly rated by people who played it during the time it was originally printed because it was
Yeah,
the best removal at the time for a rebel deck or for a white weenie deck. The next one is Reveille Squad. You
Reveille
put the
squad?
Reveille.
I don't know if
So
maybe in French it's yeah, I don't know.
I looked this up before the show, Alex, and actually I noticed that after I looked it up, I noticed in the show notes you put the phonetic spelling,
I did.
which I'm having trouble finding that, and I think yeah, your phonetic spelling was Reveille. When I looked
Yes.
it
A reveille is a morning bugle call to wake up troops.
when I looked it up online, all the talking mouths were saying Revier, Revier,
Really? Because I
but they
found a
were
talking mouth that said Reveille.
okay. But he was also pointing out that it was French, so maybe the French pronunciation is Revier, Revier.
Yeah. And in American, we say Reveille.
I will also say that I listened to a mixed martial arts podcast hosted by Luke Thomas, who is a former Marine, and their intro always starts with him going, Reveille, Reveille, donks.
Oh.
So he says Reveille too, because he probably heard that a lot in the Marines. People screaming Reveille, Reveille at him. So that's in agreement with your phonetic pronunciation that you wrote down in the show notes. So it is probably American for Revier. That's my guess. What does it do? It's 2 colorless, 2 white, 3/3. I like that. Still boltable. Whenever you're attacked, if Reveille Squad is untapped, you may untap all creatures you control.
Yeah,
So
not bad.
you can tap. It's like a pseudo vigilance. You can tap your creatures. You can attack with them.
Yeah.
You can tap them to activate abilities. If on your opponent's turn they decide to attack you, you got your Reveille Squad there on the board. You can untap everything and block. I
Hmm.
like it.
I started thinking about the timing of this. I don't think you can do anything super tricky, but since you can fetch rebels with other rebels, you could pull this into play at a time when they don't really expect it. You know what I mean? Now, I don't think you'd have the opportunity to do that like
After they declared attacks.
right, right.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't time it like that, but you could still bring it in after maybe they made some other choice earlier in the turn or something.
Yeah. Also to note that it's from Prophecy and not terrible.
Oh yeah.
I noticed that. It's
That is worth noting.
an uncommon too from Prophecy, and like it's pretty decent. It's an interesting card. The other 4 drops, there are 3 other 4 drops, I think. Pious Warrior, Repelling Scouts, Entrenching Steed.
I don't think I thought any of them were very good.
Now, Pious Warrior is a 4 casting cost 2/3. Whenever it's dealt combat damage, you gain that much life. Don't see a spot for this
Yeah.
in a Rebel deck or a White Weenie deck. Repelling Scouts, 2 colors, 2 white, 1/4 flying. So we're getting a
I
little bit
like that
better
it's a
here.
1/4 flyer, like a
Yeah.
dancing scimitar kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Not blockable and flies, so that's nice. It could be a decent blocker. 2 colorless, 1 white gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So if you have mana to sink into it, it can block anything really. You
Yeah.
can give it protection. Great
Yeah, that one's not too
blockers.
bad.
I said just the ability too expensive, but solid. And then Trenching Steed. This is more along the lines of what I expect when I see prophecy cards. 3 colors, 1 white, 2/3. Sacrifice a land. It gets +0/+3 until end of turn. So typical prophecy card, destroying your
Uh,
own land for
I've been
limited mana.
trying to come up with a way to make that work. Like, yeah. It's a big horse
Prophecies,
though.
it could be worse. Is that what you said? Or did you say big horse?
Big horse, it's a big horse.
Okay. It
Or
could
a
also be
dragon
worse.
thing that looks like a horse.
It's a weird horse.
It's like a dino horse.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's Hildebrand art. Greg and Tim Hildebrand. One of them just passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They did classic Lord of the Rings art too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Animated? Did they do an animated cartoon?
I think so.
I thought so too. I thought that's the Hildebrand too. So those are the other 4 drops. Nothing to write home about. Now we're getting towards the end of the Rebel clan here in the pre-modern card pool. The 5 drops. We have 1 tutor in the 5 drops. And this guy looks sassy. Ramosian Sky Marshal, 3 colorless, 2 white, 3/3 Flying Rebel. There's a lot of mana here now. You can pay 7, tap them, search your library for a Rebel card with converted mana cost 6 or less, put that card into play, then shuffle your library. I think he did get a little bit of play, but you only use this guy for one thing. It's just to tutor up the 1/6, or it's just to tutor up one particular 6-drop rebel. I think this is
Yeah,
the only
yeah.
thing this guy ever got used
The
for.
stepping stone to, yeah, the Jovial Queen.
Jovial Queen, which is 4 colorless, 2 white, 4/7. This is the top of the mana curve in the pre-modern Rebel card pool. We're at 6 now. Attacking doesn't cause Jovial Queen to tap, so it's a 4/7 with vigilance.
Yeah. And still,
Not
I
the
mean, not really that amazing for like the big thing you're going to bring out. Like,
No,
I give it extra points for being 4/7. I think that's a fun number, but it doesn't have trample. Uh, you know, I don't think it's going to like win you the game necessarily.
not the best. Doesn't I mean, I never see play in pre-modern these days, but I think it did see play sometimes back in
Yeah,
block constructed, mass block constructed, because again, I think it was a block with no STP, and having a 7 toughness creature is just something really difficult to deal with.
fair enough. Yeah.
And vigilance, so you could attack and block with it. Other creatures in this block, most of the time, we're going to be able to fight this fella. But that's the Ramosian Sky Marshal, the 1/5 drop tutor. Jovial Queen is the 6 drop that it's used to get if you use the Sky Marshal to tutor up another rebel. The other 5 drop, there were only 2 5 drops. Ramosian Sky Marshal and Jovial Rider, which is fairly vanilla. It's not really vanilla because it does have one special
It's
ability.
just bad.
It's just bad. It's a 5 casting cost 3/3 with trample.
Yeah.
I want to smack somebody in the face.
I don't even want to pay the mana to tutor that.
Whoever designed
To
this, it
fetch
makes me
it.
want to puke.
The other 6 casting cost isn't terrible though.
No, it's not. So we have 2 5 casting cost creatures, the Jovial Rider that makes me want to puke, and then the Ramosian Sky Marshal. And then we have we have 2 6 casting cost rebels, the Jovial Queen, which we've seen, and then this last one, Cho Aram Bruiser. Five
Another
colors,
ogre.
5 colors, 1 white. An ogre. Okay, so that's good. You threw that flavor in there. Now I'm understanding. You told me earlier,
Yeah.
Cho Aram is the Chos are an alliance between humans and ogres.
Yeah, the Cho Aram or yeah, like
Right.
yeah, humans and I don't know anything beyond that. That's all.
Okay, that's good. That's enough. I don't need to know anymore. And now explains why there's an ogre here. Cho Aram Bruiser, 3/4, creature rebel. I wonder why they're not ogres, and I wonder if you look them up on Gatherer today,
Oh
if they
yeah.
are ogres. But whenever Cho Aram Bruiser attacks, you may tap up to 2 target creatures. So it can't be bolted. Tapping down 2 blockers is nice. I said, but generally unneeded, especially for 6 mana. But it's a decent ability. You attack, you could tap down their blockers and get through with anything else you need to get through.
Yeah.
It's just
Um,
expensive.
Probably can't surprise them with the fetching because it would have summoning sickness, but if you had some way to add haste to your deck, then that could be a pretty sweet thing to pull this guy in and haste him.
Yeah,
But would probably cost a ton of mana also.
yeah.
He is an ogre rebel now.
Okay, okay, good. Phew,
Whew.
phew. I need Roger and Rebel synergy. Is Cho Aram an ogre at all, or is he purely human? Could
Cho
he
Manu?
possibly? Yeah,
Mano?
could
I
he
think he's
possibly?
just human.
Okay, I wonder if maybe that explains his chunky
Oh, you're
fingers.
thinking about his hands, huh?
Is he part ogre?
Human rebel.
Just Aram. Oh, sorry. Okay, just human. Is Jeff Dobb perhaps part ogre? Cho Aram, Cho Mano. Revolutionary. Yeah, okay. Legendary creature, human rebel. Also, Hildebrand Dart. Did I mention that already? Or was I talking about a different card?
No, that was a different card, I
I was
think.
talking about a different card, yeah. Reveille Reveille Squad. Also, Hildebrand Art.
Toot toot.
Unfortunately, I don't have my trumpet anymore. If I did, I would have done a bugle call when
Oh,
we
that
were
would have been
introducing Reveille
sweet.
Squad, but I don't have my trumpet. I also would have needed to practice too, probably, because if I tried to do a bugle call right now, I don't know how it would turn out. I know there have been times in the past where I've like picked up my trumpet for the first time in like 3 years, and I
You'd
go
like
like
get out of
this.
breath.
I go, well, not even that. I don't even get that far. I go, "Vroom," and then like 15 seconds in, and my lips go numb. Like my lips feel dead. You really need to train your lips. But anyways, that is the end of the pre-modern Rebel card pool. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to say about Premodern Rebels or about Magic or about life in general before we head out, before we end episode 104.
I don't think so.
Okay. It was a good episode, Alex. It's great to be back. It's been a
Yes.
while. It's been a month and a half. I was
Happy
nervous.
New
I
Year
was
to
like,
all.
yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy holidays, everybody. I think we did okay. I was worried about us, you know, I was worried about myself getting back into the swing of things. Can I still do this, Alex? The answer is yes. I mean, the bar was low. I was never that good to begin with. I didn't get any better, but I didn't get any worse. So that's good. Did you get any Christmas presents, Alex? I didn't ask you about that.
I got this fleece that I enjoy.
From who?
My mother.
I didn't get a damn thing from
Oh,
from my mother. Not a damn thing. My grandma doesn't buy me socks anymore.
I got
Used to buy
socks
me
too.
socks. From who?
I asked for socks specifically.
Son of a bitch. Maybe that's part of my. I didn't ask for anything. If I would have asked somebody for something, they probably would have bought me something. Especially if I just asked for socks. For years, probably the first like 30 years of my life, I depended on my grandma to buy me socks for Christmas. That's what kept me in comfy socks every year. Now I'm wearing tattered socks, holes in the heel of almost every single pair. I think it's time for me to buy my own socks.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Alex. Thanks for listening if you made it this far. Appreciate you coming back to the Old Mage MTG podcast.
Yes, thank you.
If you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to us. If after listening to our episode, you're like, I need to build a Premodern Rebels deck and you want to get on TCG Player and buy some Premodern Rebels, click our affiliate link. It'll be in the description below. It costs you nothing extra, not a goddamn thing extra. We get like 2% of whatever you buy. Got to get to that $10 payout. I've had $4.37 staring at me for months now. Got to get to that $10 payout. Next week, we're going to talk some more Rebels, I believe. That's the plan. That's my current plan. I'm going to talk about some Rebels decks, some classic Rebels decks, and some current pre-modern Rebels decks. And actually, I posted about some Rebels on one of the socials. Sometime last week, somebody came back to me. They were like, I love me some Rebels. And they posted a standstill slash Rebels deck. And I was like, I think that's a pretty good idea. So probably going to talk about something like that. Because your standstill out, if you can tutor up a Rebel and bring it directly into play, you don't break standstill.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was a pretty cool idea. People probably done it for a while, but that was my first time seeing it. I'm interested in digging into it. We're going to do that next week. Talk to you later.
I ain't gonna do this anymore. That's all from me. Goodbye.